Some of you may or may not have your own Empower disc. The ones that haven't got your disc and know nothing about what we're going to do, I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to take you through the process step by step. Now, I was talking about the body. Our bodies heal themselves. We don't have to think about it. If you cut your knee, you don't stand there and say, 7,800 million red corpuscles, please coagulate in my left knee to correct the problems. Or you don't have to think about breathing. You don't say, beat, 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 beat. Your heart beats on its own. So there's some kind of intelligence inside everyone that's controlling the automatic processes in the body. Now, can you imagine how clever that intelligence is? I mean, what does it take to know the intricacies of your body and make all these changes automatically without thinking? It's like a computer program almost. It's almost like there's a little mini computer program running spontaneously in the background, almost like Windows 2000 running in the background, and any problems that come up in your life, you tend to have an internal program that deals with it, an emotional issue, a physical problem. It heals itself normally. Now, sometimes a problem doesn't heal itself. Usually, if you've got a problem for more than 6 weeks, the same problem, it tends to carry on and off for the rest of your life often. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. That reoccurs. Sometimes it's not quite as bad as it was, then it gets worse and worse, and when you're under stress, obviously, the weak points, these problem areas, are the ones that come out. Now, what does empower therapy mean? Empower therapy means, like, empower is to empower you, giving you the power to make the changes yourself. So the Empower disc, I need one. The Empower disc is a purple aluminium disc, and you've all got one in your hand. And I'm going to explain to you what it does. First of all, I'll explain how I developed this system. When I used to do healing as a child, well, I didn't do healing as a child. I basically walked around playing with animals as a child. You know, all kids love animals, and I was born on a farm. Most people think I should still be on the farm, but I was born on a farm, and I used to like to play with chickens. And I used to go to the hatchery and play with the little fluff, because they're all nice and fluffy, and I used to play with them. Now, when a chick gets hatched, I don't know what it's like now, but the ones that weren't going to live, they used to be quite cruel in the old days, because I'm quite old. They used to put them on a pile, and they just let them die, basically. And I didn't know about this chicken pile, and one day I saw it, and I thought, what? And I sort of like panicked, you know, as a kid. I was only about like 3, and I saw all these chickens, like almost dead chickens, and some real, you know, completely dead. And I picked one up, put it under my jumper, and ran out. And I was standing under a bush, sat down with this dead chicken in my hand, and I started sort of concentrating on it. I didn't know what I was doing. And I could feel like a sort of a tingling sensation in my hands, like electricity in my hands, and the chicken sort of got hot. And I was thinking, I wasn't thinking anything. I thought it was normal at that age. And suddenly the chicken sort of came to life. So I took it home to my mum, and I said, Mum, can I have this chicken? And she said, where did you get it from? So I said, I got it from the pile of chickens where they're all dying, and they said that I could take. Oh, she said, oh, you can have that one. You can't have the other ones, but you can have the dead chickens, you can have it. So she thought I'd get rid of it. Anyway, this chicken grew up, and we had it for lunch. No, we didn't. But I had a pet chicken until I was 4.5 years old, when I came back, came to this country, actually. So that's how it all started. It started with a chicken. Didn't start with a kid, it started with a chicken. And so when I was sort of 12, 15, I was, Uri Geller was at his height, you know, Uri Geller, bending the spoons and all that kind of stuff. And I used to love sort of anything psychic or sort of healing or anything unusual. I used to sort of concentrate on moving things with my mind and doing all weird things. And I really wanted to bend the spoon. I don't know why I wanted to bend the spoon, but I wanted to bend the spoon because he could do it. I thought, well, I could do it. So one day I started bending spoons, and it'd take me like an hour and a half just to bend the spoon a little bit. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just sort of pretending that it was bending. And one day, my mother says, will you stop bending all the spoons? I said, well, I haven't bent all the spoons, I just bent this one. She said, what are all those spoons in the drawer? And the spoons in the drawer were all bent properly, but the one I had was only slightly bent. So I don't know what was going on. The one I was trying to bend wasn't bending, but the ones in the drawer were bending, so I thought, oh, weird. Anyway, I used to have a little party trick. And I used to get, kids used to play murder. Have you played Murder in the Dark, where you turn all the lights off, and it's all completely pitch black, and you're supposed to go up to people and guess who they are, just by touching them. And everybody used to get me, and they knew who I was, and I couldn't play that game. There was another little game. I used to get someone to lie down on the floor, and I'd concentrate on them, and I'd get them to move different parts of the body. Nothing majorly interesting at that age, but I used to get the arms moving, legs moving, that kind of thing. And what would happen, someone was lie down on the floor, and I'd go out of the room with somebody, some other kid, and we'd say, right, well, we're going to get his left arm to move first, then his right arm, and then we're going to do this, that, and the other. So they used to go out the room, we used to come back and then start this thing. I didn't say anything to them, and I didn't look at them, and they were facing the opposite direction, so there's no sort of auto-suggestion what they were going to do. They didn't have any idea. And they would do it. Some kids were more sensitive than others. Kids are very sensitive to empower, and obviously kids tend to sort of respond more powerfully, more sensitivity, and do these things more easily. They take it for granted, they don't think about it, think it's normal. When I was a kid, I also could see lights around everything, which was a big problem for me, because I couldn't, it stopped me reading properly, it stopped me spelling because I didn't read, so I kind of had learning difficulties when I was a kid. In fact, at one point they wanted to put me into a special school. Well, most people wanted to do it, but some of the teachers said, well, no, we should keep him in mainstream education. Anyway, I passed with a few, didn't get hardly any sort of qualifications or anything like that, but I managed. Anyway, when I got to about 18, 19, I was still interested in spooky stuff and anything unusual, and I heard about a chap called John Kane from Liverpool. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He used to do healing sessions, get people to sit on rows of chairs like that, and he'd sort of put his hands on you or look at you or something, and they'd go into these kind of spontaneous movements. And I thought, well, that's similar to what I was doing, but I didn't know it was anything to do with healing. So someone suggested, why don't I join the healing group of, well, he'd actually died at that point, but there was a healing group and people used to go. So I went there and I had a chat with them. And the chat sort of was along the lines of, I can make people move around and get rid of pain, but I don't know what else I can do. And they said, have you ever thought of trying to correct the problem? I said, what do you mean correct the problem? So, well, instead of saying move your left arm or whatever you do inside your head to get them to do X, Y, and Z, why don't you tell them to heal themselves, correct their back problems or whatever problems? I thought, okay, I'll try it. So we tried it, tried a few experiments, and it seemed to work. When I thought about something, people used to do it, whether it was moving their arm or correct the physical problem. It didn't work on everybody. It worked on about 6